Hi, it's Bob Phibbs, the retail doc here at IBM at NRF, and I'm here with Nancy Greco, and I'm here with Tony Drockton with Hammitt. And I thought we would be excited to introduce these two people that haven't really known each other before. However, Tony is CEO of one of the coolest luxury brands in the world, Hammitt, known for their rivets on the side. And Nancy knows everything about generative AI and how IBM is using it. So I just thought that Tony is bound to have things that are bothering him with his business, and because of your great brain and knowing what Watson's capable of, maybe there's a conversation we could have.
So your question was, how do we get you the data so you can understand what clients are thinking or customers are thinking about you? So we could start using generative AI to start creating very targeted questions. Where would the data be?
Right.
And then you have to get the permission to use the data. Now, if it's on the internet or TikTok, you might be able to do it, but we will keep saying make sure you're allowed to use the data.
Yeah.
And then once we build the data set and the LM, I'll warn you, is don't ask like, oh, what do they think about? You might get a simple answer. You're not bad, right?
Okay. Try again.
Right.
Glad we spent all that money.
Right. We call it prompt engineering. Try to be as specific as you can.
Yeah.
So tell me 3 things that customers like about my product, and it'll tell you the top 3.
Yeah.
Tell me 3 things they like with my competitor. You'll have to name the competitor. Maybe they might tell you who.
Yeah.
And now you can start, imagine when it starts saying, based on all the social media, here's what your competitor is doing better than you. Here's what they love about your product.
Yeah.
Now think about how you can make different decisions.
I have another one.
Sure.
So we talked about internal salespeople and how we can find the best ones. Now we talk about competitors. So as the CEO, we've got this dashboard. It's got all my KPIs, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of information there. But then really my job is to manage people, to be with people, right? Nothing on my dashboard really helps me with the personal side, with the people. Is there an AI to merge the two where I can say, look, this is what I see on the dashboard here, and how can I connect that to my people and where that's coming from?
Well, a couple of things. You have to decide what do you want to know about your person. Is it being driven by sales?
Let's assume that.
Yeah. Well, too, but how are they getting their sales? So are they spending a lot of face time? Do they know the product line really well? So the first question we'll say is, how do you want to assess the person? And it's soft skills, right? How knowledgeable are they about your product line? So the short answer is yes, that's going to be a combination of traditional AI and generative AI, going back to what makes a sales associate so good. So we'll have to make sure we can get that data, and you actually want to make sure it's not creepy for the salesperson.
Sure. What does that mean?
Well, I'm watching
like
Bob. He's on his phone.
But it would be great if I could watch Bob on his phone. And it's like my personal thing would be, if in a retail store, could I have AI with my cameras and everything actually point back and say, why is our store in Glendale not doing well? And it says, oh, well, most of your employees are on their phone for 5 hours a day. And because we know that, because the heat map shows they're sitting at their desk, and we see the customers coming in. Well, that's creepy, but I want that. Don't you want that?
Yeah, I mean,
I want that.
It's on topic, but it's on. I mean, I tell anyone that works for me, and I tell my son, and I tell younger generations, just assume everything you do digitally is going to be seen by somebody at some point in the future. And so if you work that way, you're going to probably think differently about what you do.
A softer touch you could do is we work with a third party that's not looking at you and you. What it's going to do is see, is this person moving? They convert you to a stick figure. So what you could be doing as a store owner saying, I'm looking at the data, and 80% of the time my associates aren't moving. Well, you can imagine.
Would that be amazing?
Yeah, that would be good.
It becomes actionable. I mean,
right. And so instead of saying, Bob, get off your butt and get out there, we can say, look, it would appear that our associates aren't moving, clients are coming in, and then once they realize we're seeing you move towards the associate, and we'll call it dwell time. How much time are you spending with your client? And then we can take it to the next level. Well, what are they saying? And through generative AI, we can start giving them prompts to say, ask this, tell a story, do this, really engage it. And in the beginning, someone asked this morning, it's like, well, then they're still going to be on the phone initially. But now through that information we're sending, they're going to get trained. So maybe by the 3rd time, they don't need that. They know this product really well.
So jumping on another question, because you have all these amazing, I have used, basic AI for branding campaigns and for ad campaigns myself. I love to play with it. Comes up with some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think about that approach, and how can we do it better?
Gen AI can do it better.
Okay.
And faster. So we created a whole campaign in 3 minutes. Now, I don't know how long it takes you to do a campaign. So we did the following, and you can do that with generative AI, IBM Shredder. Who's the persona? Who are you targeting? So you kind of describe it at a high level, demographics, age, this and that.
Just you plug all that in.
You plug all that in, right? What is the product? What are you trying to sell? What are incentives? And we have a relationship with Adobe. You can say, well, what do you want to picture, right? You can push a button and it blows me away. It comes out. Here's more definition about your personas.
Yep.
Here's how you would target them. And look at this wonderful graphic based on that persona that would appeal to them. So what it's doing is doing what you're doing today, and we take weeks to do a campaign. I don't know about you, because it's iterative and this and that. Boom, it's a starting point. So in 30 minutes, wow, have you got a starting point?
Yeah, good. That's how we look at it.
I think that's a great point. It's a starting point. It's not the end. It's like, it's a tool. We keep going back to that.
It's a tool. We don't want to replace humans. We want to rise them up.
And I like how you said, here's a softer way of presenting the last topic.
Yes.
How do you talk with your team, your graphics team, your creative directors about plugging in AI? Because they're, even at any age, I don't know, I feel like there's pushback.
Oh, it's worse. Absolute fear.
Yeah,
right?
so what
don't need
is
it
that
anymore.
about?
You're going to push a button, the images will come up. So you got to reinforce it, right? That we need the human to do the prompt engineering.
Okay.
Right? Because let's face it, we're dealing with humans. So going back to, well, what do you want to portray? It's a tool to help you. What it will do is going to reduce a lot of tasks that you're doing.
Yeah.
So in a way, it might be a good thing. So maybe an 8-hour day could really go to 4 hours and you're producing the same outcome. But really address it with your employees. It's an outright fear. You're going to replace me.
I sense it.
To us, you have to have the human in there because the human's going to help correct the model.
Yeah.
Right? What happens if somebody comes into your store and our model happens to hallucinate and say that's made out of plastic? You're not going to be happy. So the human has to be there to make sure everything's kind of moving correctly. Yeah. And let's face it, humans do at some point want to talk to you people.
Well, I want to just build on that so we can get through our time here, because I know we could stay here all afternoon. It's engaged conversation. I hope you love this as much as I do. The chance to actually hear what Tony is running through as a CEO, his concerns as a tech, no-file business owner, and Nancy, who knows everything, and then me, who's along for the ride. One of the things we talked about earlier is change management, because, this is a different world, and that's one of the things that, since you've been around for 100 years, let's face it, you've had, with all those iterations, IBM's had to be the first to say this is going to be different, right? We're not going to use punch cards, or we're not going to do this. So what would be some tips to manage change management, to your point, of it being actual fear?
So I would start with the employees. Remember, we're dealing with humans. This is frightening. Now, Gen AI is amazing capability. So the way I can kind of describe it, I'll use the cooking show example, right? What if, as an employee, you now had everything in front of you? You didn't have to go to the store. You didn't have to figure out the recipe. You didn't have. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to put everything in front of you. Now, unleash your creativity. So think about the jobs we're doing today. There's a lot of mundane tasks. And by the time you go to get creative, you're tired. Gen AI is going to bring that together. Think of the cooking shows where you have, minutes to make a meal. They couldn't do that if they had to go get all that stuff, do all those tasks. So to me, the way I would talk about it, with caution, be mindful you're dealing with humans. But the adder is, we're going to unleash creativity in the human race that you've never seen before.
I like it. I used an analogy to my team the other day. I said, when I was your age, there was filing cabinets. And in college, I had to go to a library. Imagine if I asked you right now to go to a library to get information or go to a filing cabinet. I feel the same way right now about AI. You're afraid to leave the filing cabinet for the internet, where I was at. And I said, you're going to have, AI is my internet to you. If you don't jump in, you're going to be at a point in your career where you're going to be left behind, and you want to get ahead. Because filing cabinets are not coming back, and neither is the basic internet.
Now, one thing too, I want you to reinforce with employees, and I'm going to use your bag as an example. Generative AI or AI is based on data it already has. There is no way generative AI would say add those,
ribbons.
Right? It wouldn't have known that because guess what? There's no data there.
Yeah.
And this is why I said it's going to push the creativity. If it doesn't exist, Gen AI can't figure it out. So now you're saying, oh, add this trim, add this. And it's a lovely bag, by the way, and it's the softest leather I've ever felt.
Shameless plug.
And I'll
Shameless
tell you,
plug.
generative AI could not have created that. So think about it. Generative AI can only tell you what to extrapolate from data.
Yeah.
If you've got a really cool idea never done before, it doesn't have a data for you.
No.
And I think that's what brings us to the end of this edition. I really want to thank my buddy Tony and my new friend Nancy for taking the time to again demystify this. It's not something to fear. It is a matter of change management. And that idea of I'm tired of reports, I'm tired of things that we did in the past. We have the chance to say, great, let's just get rid of that and imagine that we're at the cooking show and it's all there for us. So thanks for joining us. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you both.
Handshake. Thank you. Bye. Oh, there you go. See, we have fun when it's generative AI.